Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I'm going to be talking about the Umbrella Academy and mapping each of the Umbrella Academy members to the top contenders in the 2020 presidential primary Democrat candidate pool. Okay? All right, so this is a conceptual framework to map the movers and the shakers in the 15-member field of the Democrat presidential primary candidate pool to each of the members in Netflix's new series, Umbrella Academy. There is spoilers for Umbrella Academy in this content. All right, now why am I doing this? Why am I building a conceptual framework to map each of the presidential primary candidates to a member of the Umbrella Academy? Well, the reality is, the U.S. elections are so precious to me. I absolutely love this time, and I want to map all of it. It's a historical moment, and I want it in my brain, right? I want to be able to do the analysis in my head for all the candidates, and I want a very clear memory of what happened during this time, right? I don't give two rats for sports. They don't matter, right? But here, for politics, right, that matters. Absolutely no one. No person in the United States of America, no object, no tradition, no element within the United States of America will go untouched by the events that we're talking about right now, this election. This is a fork in the road of the future. We get one future if one candidate is elected, and we get another future if another candidate is elected. They are fundamentally different, and we are choosing the path of the future now for us in America, and frankly, for the rest of the world too. Right? It's actually quite unlikely that there is a single country on this planet that will not be affected in some way by the election of our president, the United States of America president. So it matters. And I want all of it in my head as much as possible. I want to preserve every moment of this run up to the election and all the events and the events that happened to bring us our next president. All right, so let's do it. All right, one, I absolutely loved Umbrella Academy on Netflix. They did an absolutely amazing job of bringing Umbrella Academy to the screen. I am a huge comic book fan, and I actually bought these. I bought the Umbrella Academy comics on the shelf when they came out, right? Which was very excited. I read them. I really thought it was weird. I liked it, right? It wasn't my favorite comic then, but there were some brilliant ideas in it. It had really funky art. I loved it, right? So I absolutely love what Netflix did with this show. Me and my wife watched it together. That's saying something, right? A lot of times she is not down with the nonsense I want to watch on Netflix. And she was down with this. We loved it. We watched it together. We really dug it. It was cool. It was so good, right? All right. So let's jump into it. All right. Who maps to who? All right. So first of all, let's talk about Diego. So Diego is of course a member of the Umbrella Academy, and he uses daggers, right? Now I want to say before I give my first matchup, right? I want to say that the mappings are done because the candidates share one single attribute with that character, right? And so it doesn't mean that they match everything. It just means they have one shared attribute, right? All right, and I'll try to elucidate what the shared attribute is. All right, so to me, Diego is Tulsi Gabbard, and the reason why is Diego is a pure fighter, right? Like, he is a quite literal fighter. He fights with daggers. He throws daggers at range, right? And Tulsi Gabbard was a literal fighter, right? She fought for our country, right? Now, they definitely differ, though, in that Diego was always down for a fight, always looking to fight, had this real, very aggressive spirit. And I think Tulsi Gabbard came out of the military with a very kind of toned down spirit, and she's actually looking to make sure that we are fighting less as a nation, right? But that one link for me is that Diego is a literal fighter. Tulsi Gabbard was a literal fighter. No more, but there was a period where she was out there with a fully automatic weapon defending our country, right? All right, so the next one is number 5. So number 5 is, it's this 12-year-old who went through a time travel, right? Maybe he was like 13, somewhere in there, a young adult, right? Like a junior high aged boy, right? That's number 5. And he has the ability to teleport, and he's really by far the most capable of all the Umbrella Academy superheroes, air quotes there, right? By the way, Umbrella Academy, if you didn't figure this out, Umbrella Academy is superheroes a la Wes Anderson. Like, that is a deadlock description of it, right? All right, so number 5, in my opinion, is Cory Booker, right? And the reason why is that teleportation, right? And that capability, right? But then also the capability and these really strong powers not really turning into anything, right? So number 5 is the most dangerous, capable fighter of all of the Umbrella Academy. His ability to teleport makes him incredibly deadly on the field as a superhero, right? He can show up anywhere at any time. He's fast. He's really, really dangerous, right? He's also very smart. But the reality is, in the show, he really doesn't do much at all, right? He really doesn't accomplish anything as far as forwarding the goals of the Umbrella Academy, forwarding the goals of his brothers and his sisters, and really, he just has a really strong grasp of the situations that are going on, but he really doesn't really deliver anything, right? And I think that's where Cory Booker is now. I think he's one of the best candidates on paper. I think he's one of the most intelligent and the most charismatic. He should be doing better than he is, but he's really not. He's just not delivering to that next level. There's just not a lot there for Cory Booker, I think. And so I think number 5 for me was kind of a correct match, right? Luther's super obvious. Luther is Beto O'Rourke. Luther is so tall. Beto O'Rourke is so tall, right? I also think, if you noticed, right, number 5 absolutely should have led the Umbrella Academy, but number 5 didn't lead the Umbrella Academy. Luther led the Umbrella Academy. And the reason why is, I think Luther is what people think of when they think about a traditional leader, right? And I think Luther was not the best leader, right? That idea of people wanting to follow someone who looks like a leader, it's a really dangerous human quality, right? And I just really feel like Luther just pairs right up with Beto O'Rourke, right? All right, let's talk about Vanya, right? Now, Vanya she is specifically the Umbrella Academy member who has no powers and really wasn't in the Umbrella Academy. She was just kind of shoved off to the side. But the reason why I pair her with Elizabeth Warren is she is kind, she is really well-meaning, she's very smart, and the reality is, I really kind of think she was noble, right? And so all those things, in my opinion, attach to Elizabeth Warren, right? So I think Vanya is Elizabeth Warren. Now, we're going in an unusual direction right now, because now we're going to talk about another character, Illuminated Vanya, right? Illuminated Vanya is Vanya with powers, right? Vanya who knows the full truth, and she has manifested as Illuminated Vanya, right? So her face is pure white. Her eyes are pure white with just pinpricks of black, right? Her suit is completely white. Her violin is completely white, right? And she is just absolutely radiating power, right? And at this point, she is pretty much an unstoppable force of nature. Well, that's Andrew Yang, right? So Andrew Yang is Illuminated Vanya. He is the real deal, right? He's, and I think UBI is the thing, right? That is the fuel that is, that's what's radiating off of Andrew Yang, is this UBI idea. This UBI idea, this idea of let's give everybody in America $1,000 a month, every living adult, right, citizen. That's huge, right? And everybody needs to pay attention. And I just think they're like, with this unbelievable idea, right? It's simple, it's shocking, it's exciting, it's new, right? this is, Andrew Yang is illuminated Vanya. Really is absolutely illuminated Vanya. Okay? Now, Klaus. Now, who is Klaus? All right, so Klaus is my absolute favorite member of the Umbrella Academy. He was just so funny. He had a really heartwarming story. It was just really, I just loved the character Klaus. I thought he was really awesome. He was unpredictable, right? So Klaus is really cool. Now, his power is that he can see the dead, right? So who is Klaus? Well, Klaus is Kamala Harris, right? Now, she's not a great fit for Klaus. And the reality is there's really almost no good fits for Klaus within the 2020 presidential Democrat primary candidate pool, right? But the reason I picked Kamala Harris is I think that Klaus is the most unpredictable of all of the Umbrella Academy. And I think that Kamala Harris is the most unpredictable of all the 2020 presidential Democrat primary candidates, of all of them. She's the most unpredictable. I think it's harder to know where she's going to land, what she's going to do next, what she's actually capable of, right? And, I think she's, in that way, she matches with Klaus, right? But Klaus also is just like this really humorous, crazy, outlandish, person. And there really isn't anybody like that in the candidate pool. But I think Kamala Harris is the absolute closest match. All right. What about Ben? Right? So, of course, Ben is with the Umbrella Academy, and he's dead. He's died a long time ago. Well, Ben is clearly Bernie Sanders. Now, the reason why I think he's Bernie Sanders is in the Umbrella Academy, we watch Ben throughout the Umbrella Academy, and he's dead, right? And no one can see him except Klaus. Well, that is a perfect example of Bernie Sanders, in that I think he's functionally dead now in the race, in that he's a Washington insider. That makes it really hard for people to see him, right? Because they've just seen so many of them. Their eyes gloss over, right? And I don't think the cameras really want to turn on Bernie right now because, because of that Washington insider thing. Everybody know, if you ask Bernie a question, you have a really good chance of knowing what the answer is before he says it, right? And that's classic Washington, D.C. insider, and it's hard for people to see him. In addition to that, right, Bernie's already been seen doing this exact same thing, in 2016. So everything he's doing, he's not really he's not saying anything different or doing anything different. And again, it just makes it hard for people to see him, right? All right. That is all the members of the Umbrella Academy, right? And they're the ones that are matching up. Now, there's a few candidates I didn't list, right? Well, I'm telling you, everybody that I did list, those are the movers and shakers. Those are the people who matter, in my opinion, right now overall. So basically, yeah. So I think that is absolutely the mapping, right? I did forget one. Allison. So Allison has this power of, I heard a rumor. And if she says, I heard a rumor, then what happens is she then, whatever she says is the rumor, becomes true. It's an incredibly dangerous power, right? And she used it on Vanya more than once. She used it on Vanya when she was young, and she tried to use it on Vanya again. Whoa, that didn't work out well for Allison. So the reality is, I think Allison is Pete Buttigieg. So Allison as Pete Buttigieg is essentially, the reason I think there's a connection there is, of all the members of the Umbrella Academy, I felt that Allison was the most collected, right? And I think Pete Buttigieg is the most collected, right, of all the candidates. And so I think they matched in that way. Now, I absolutely love the Umbrella Academy, so I'm going to take this a little bit further and map a few characters that were non-player characters, NPCs, non-player characters, people who weren't the main Umbrella Academy members. So one of the characters I absolutely loved was Pogo. All right, so Pogo is this, it's a chimp who can talk, right? And Pogo serves Hargreaves, who was this father figure for all the members of the Umbrella Academy, and actually acquired them as children, which was kind of weird. But it's an unusual story. So Pogo, I think Pogo is the media, right? Pogo, and the reason why was Pogo knew everything that was happening. He knew all the secrets in the house. He knew every single secret, and he assisted Hargreaves. And he was incredibly well-meaning, but he ended up being a bystander and watching terrible things happening and doing nothing about it. And that's exactly what, and actually, yeah, and I think in many ways that's what the media is like now. Not the mainstream media, I'm talking the whole media, right? And I'm part of that. I have to admit, I'm part of the media, you know? And I think at the macro level, the media is just like Pogo, just watching it all happen and not really doing anything to help anyone, right? So that's Pogo. Now, what about Hargreaves, right? Well, Hargreaves is this stern old man with like a monocle, and he's the father figure for every member of the Umbrella Academy, right? I think Hargreaves is the EU. It's the European Union. And the reason why is Hargreaves looked down on all of the members of the Umbrella Academy and were like, you're not living up to your full potential, and I shall show you no kindness or love, and I shall not grant thee respect, right? But at the same time, he fed them and he clothed them, and he was like a semblance of a father. And I feel like that's the EU with America now, right? Like, you know, I always kind of feel very judged by the EU, like, you know, like we, America, are their child, and they're just like holding back this love that we desire, or this respect that we desire, or this acceptance that we desire. And I don't just really, you know, I know they're an ally, and clearly Hargreaves was an ally to his children, but there was always just this reserved stuffiness, and that was really kind of like, I was like, you know, I think Hargreaves is the EU's European Union. All right, now what about Hazel and Cha-Cha? Hazel and Cha-Cha were these super cool assassins who ran around trying to get members of the Umbrella Academy and never succeeding, right? So there's a little bit of a Keystone Cops kind of vibe there, and they were capable and they were fun to watch, but they really never were able to get anything done that they wanted to get done. And so Cha-Cha is Hickenlooper, John Hickenlooper, and I would say that Hazel is John Delaney. So Hazel and Cha-Cha are Hickenlooper and Delaney. All right, that is my conceptual framework to remember these incredibly important, special people who are putting on the greatest show right now, right? Which is the run-up to the general election. I'm so excited for this season. This is game time, right? This is what matters. I absolutely love this time of year, or actually this time every 4 years, right? It's just so exciting, and I'm really excited about it. Hey, did I get any of them wrong? Did I map anybody to the wrong person? What do you think? Would you have remapped some of those candidates to different members of the Umbrella Academy? And so, you know, I'd really love to hear what you think. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.